Michael Yafan Wen, 43 years of age, from New York, specifically Manhasset on Long Island, has been charged with 1 count of second-degree menacing and 1 count of endangering the welfare of a child after he pointed a gun at the head of a 6-year-old boy. What a fucking sick weirdo. This happened last week, October the 28th. A mother was driving her 10-year-old daughter, her 2 sons, and a nephew, so her 10-year-old daughter could drop off a goodie bag of candy at one of her friend's house. So they pulled up to this guy's house. The 10-year-old girl thought it was her friend's house, and she left a goodie bag of candy on the doorstep. And then the 10-year-old girl, along with her 6-year-old brother, walked back to the car, got into the car with her mom. The mom pulled away, and then the 10-year-old girl said, "You know what? I think maybe that wasn't the right address. Maybe that's not my friend's house." So the mother pulled around, went back to the home, parked. The 6-year-old boy got out of the car, went to this weirdo's front porch again, Michael Yafan Wen, and collected the goodie bag of candy that he and his sister had left just moments beforehand because it was meant for somebody else. The 10-year-old daughter got the address wrong. That's okay. These things happen. So the 6-year-old boy picks up the goodie bag of candy, and then the front door opened. This weirdo, 43-year-old Michael Yafan Wen, stepped out of the house and pointed a black handgun at the 6-year-old boy's head. He yelled at the 6-year-old boy. He said, "Get the fuck off my property." And with that, he's been taken into custody, charged with 1 count of second-degree menacing and 1 count of endangering the welfare of a child. Thankfully, nobody was physically hurt, but this must be traumatizing for the 6-year-old boy. A gun pointed at his head. Why? Because he retrieved a bag of candy? Seriously? Michael, you weirdo. Here you are, living in a wonderful home, perhaps in a wonderful area. I'm not overly familiar with it myself, but Manhasset, Long Island, New York. You seem to be a very wealthy man, and you're bothered about a 6-year-old boy taking a bag of candy that belonged to him and his mom and his sister? Is it really worth pointing a gun at a 6-year-old's head? How much is a bag of candy worth? What, $2, $5? Guess what? The 43-year-old claims to be not guilty. Apparently, some other people in the neighborhood had said some children had been up to no good. They've been playing a game called ghosting. They ring a doorbell, then run away, leaving a bag of treats on the porch. Well, I mean, that sounds like a pleasant game. Literally giving their friends a bag of candy. I mean, like, what's wrong with that? Absolutely nothing. So this guy here needs to be properly held accountable. It is completely inappropriate to pull a gun on a child for no good reason. Pointing the gun at the boy's head, no less. What would drive this man to do that? Well, we're not told too much about this guy. Again, we can see the photo of where he lives. An incredibly nice home, if you ask me. I wouldn't mind living there. I would imagine that to be able to afford to live in a property like that, perhaps own a property like that, I would imagine he has to be a contributory member of society. What's my point? My point is, my guess, and I could of course be wrong, but my guess is that he's normal, he's sane, yet he performed this ridiculously insane act. That's not normal. What would lead him to lose all self-control? Who knows? Perhaps financial stresses, but you know, looking at his house, perhaps not. If he's a normal guy, and we're not told too much about him, we don't know about his criminal record, we don't know about his mental health history, his occupation, we don't know anything about him at all other than he lives in a very nice house. What would turn him to pull a gun on a child? I don't know, man. There's like a severe lack of control amongst the population. Not everyone, but seemingly this is a normal guy as far as I can assume, and again, could be completely wrong, but this is concerning to me and confusing. I could say, perhaps incorrectly, that this is another example that we should bear in mind of a so-called normal person behaving in an extremely erratic, potentially violent way. Completely unnecessary, complete lack of self-control. The issue blown out of all proportion. A 10-year-old girl dropped off a goodie bag full of candy for her friend. That's it. That's all that happened. The 6-year-old boy picked up the candy because it was believed that they perhaps left the candy at the wrong home. She wanted to give it to her friend, not some stranger's house, not some fucking weirdo that likes to pull guns on children's house. Dude, you need a mental health assessment. If you're capable of pulling guns on children, you need to be evaluated. And I do hope that a proper investigation takes place. I do hope that justice is served. I do hope that this guy isn't able to wriggle out of this situation on the basis that thankfully nobody was was injured, and on the basis that perhaps he can afford a top-tier defense lawyer. But there we go. That's all the information that we have at this point. I don't really have too much more to say. Of course, best wishes to the boy who had a gun pulled on him for no good reason. Let's hope that he overcomes that trauma. I'm sure he will. He's got the support of his mother, his sister, his brother, his nephew. They're all smart enough to realize that the 6-year-old boy did nothing wrong. Nobody did anything wrong apart from this absolute weirdo. So hopefully they process that and everything can get back to normal. But again, this guy needs to face justice. He absolutely must have a psychological evaluation, in my opinion. He runs the risk of being institutionalized. He must have some kind of explanation for going from zero to pulling a gun on a child over a bag of candy. It's unacceptable. I'm going to wrap things up. If you appreciate the coverage, please do like, comment, subscribe, share the video as you see fit. If you're in a position to join my memberships, please do consider that. Perhaps you're able to drop a super thanks. But if you're not able to do any of those things, that's perfectly fine. I'll thank you for your time and take care.